Hey everybody, welcome to Miller's Military Moments, where you get the inside scoop on my adventures of being a soldier in the United States Army. So welcome to episode 14. Yeah, 14 already. So 2 months in and 14 episodes. This one is first week in Iraq. So we've covered a lot of my first, year and a half in the Army back at Fort Hood, and in the last episode, of course, in Kuwait, so I'm getting ready to go. And now we're getting in that Humvee and we're getting ready to head north into Iraq and encounter all kinds of things and interesting moments, of course. So we'll definitely get to share those. But let's recap just a little bit. 14 episodes, 2 months, and, a full website, millersmilitarymoments.com. If you haven't gone there and checked it out, you should. It's got links to it has all my shows on it. It's got the links to the YouTube channel and the videos. It's got show notes on it, areas for you to comment, leave comments. It's got a way for you to contact me directly, and links to all of our socials and stuff. So it's pretty cool, and a lot more than I thought it would ever be. Or, I'm not really sure what I thought this would all be or where this is all going. I may have had some thoughts, I guess, but the support that I've received for telling my story has just been incredible, and I appreciate everybody who's supported me in this endeavor and continues to send me messages or call me and wanting more episodes and encouraging me to continue on with the story. So it's been great, and I'm having a great time telling my story. So, and love sharing these things, that not only the stories, but some of the people that I've served with that just most Americans don't know. And it's great to be able to tell these stories, and it's a lot of fun. Some of my friends that I've served with, especially during these stories, have called, and we'll talk about those times and some of those moments. And so we kind of sometimes get a laugh out of them, or remember certain things. So it's been a lot of fun for me, and hopefully it's been a lot of fun for you. So episode 14, first week in Iraq. Last week we talked about in Kuwait, the staging, getting ready, getting our vehicles. We're out there getting our convoy brief. I showed you a picture of that last week. If you haven't seen that picture, it was in the show notes, the weekly newsletter, and on Instagram and Facebook as well. So that convoy is just, lots of vehicles, and we're just one small part of this convoy. And, so to put a lot of this in perspective of what we're about to do, we're about to drive our vehicles. I'm getting ready to ride in the back of a Humvee, and not on like some cushioned seat, but on some wooden bench that is a troop seat, for 500 something miles from Kuwait up to Camp Spiker, or what will be called Camp Spiker when we get there. And so we're just one small part of this, and you have to remember, so 3rd Infantry Division has led the assault, and the Marines have led the invasion. We're a little bit behind them because we didn't get to come through Turkey, which I had mentioned earlier in some of my episodes. So, but we're coming through Kuwait, but we've still got to get north of Baghdad up into our area of operation, which is going to be Tikrit, Saddam's hometown. And we're going to, our area of operations is going to be that whole really big area up there in Tikrit, and the abandoned airfield that we're going to take over, which is, eventually it's going to be named Camp Spiker, after the Air Force pilot, Scott Spiker, who was shot and presumed killed and never recovered in the 91 Gulf War. So, so how do we get up there? How long does it take? What do we do? How does all that work? Are we driving through a war zone? No, there are parts of it that's a war zone for sure. But there's big elements that have done a lot of the heavy fighting already up ahead of us. And so we're trying to kind of get up to our point where we're going to execute our part of the mission. Hey, anyway, I said, last week we talked about, am I ready to go? Well, no one's ready to go, but also, hey, this is the faster we get this done, the faster I can get home to my family, right? So in a way, yes, I'm ready to go. Like, it's enough training, enough, getting ready, enough anticipation, anxiety. Like, it's just time to go. Let's do our mission and let's do what we got to do and get home. So, yes. So here we are in the back of this Humvee, and, there's no communication anymore. Like, this is it. Like, we're heading into a foreign country, and there's, you can't pull over on the side of the road, use the phone, call back home. There's essentially where we're heading to. I mean, there's going to be no power, no utilities, because we've knocked it all out, as our part of the war effort. So there's no communication back home. Mail's probably going to be 4 to 6 weeks long, and all that kind of stuff. So, right, mission focused. Now, also on the other side, so think about our family back home. They have no idea what's going on. They have no idea where we are. They have no idea, what we're doing, what's happening. Obviously, no news is good news. And what I mean is, if somebody dies in combat, so maybe you've seen on the movies where the chaplain and people in their dress uniform show up at the door, to give the news in person. So that is real. That is how it works. And as long as that's not happening, then, they're alive and everything's good to go, right? So, but yeah, they don't know what's going on. We're getting ready to head up north and start doing our mission. So, in 500 something miles. Now look, then I had no idea how far it was. All I know is that we were going north of Baghdad. I didn't really know how far that was. And the only reason I know how far it is now is because I Googled it. I went on Google Maps and put, Kuwait City up to Tikrit. So, but 500 something miles. And I'll tell you, 500 something miles in military vehicles is a lot. Like, it was, trust me, not all of them made it. Okay. Not all of them made it. Now, a lot of ours did, which was great, but some of ours did not. But the one I was riding in made it, so good to go. But so we have this Humvee, and it's a troop carrier Humvee, and I'm sitting in the back, and Seth Brown is back there with me, and I want to say a couple other people that I just don't remember. It's a tarp, so it covers us from the elements, and you can roll the sides up when it's warm, so it doesn't get too hot back there. And then we have a small trailer that's attached that has some of our equipment and supplies in it that we need. So yeah, no, it's not an up armored Humvee. It's the sides are open. We don't have plates for our vests. So, again, I know I've mentioned that, and, at first we are wearing them, and, we have that, but we don't have the plates that go in our vest. So, one of the things, I talked about the hazmat suit, which is our MOP suit, and we call it our MOP suit. And so we have to have that real close to us, obviously, because the potential for a chemical attack. And so we have it in this bag, and it's kind of sort of soft, but we end up sitting on that a lot because the benches are just really, really uncomfortable, and it takes us, so long to get up there. I mean, we had like the first whole day we drove, and then we spent the night on the side of the road, and I'll get to that in a minute, but so we were sitting on, the hazmat suit or anything that was somewhat soft, because it's just, and every bump is just incredibly difficult in these trucks, and especially these Humvees. So, here we go. And once we crossed the border, which, was kind of surreal. Here we are in a foreign country, and, what do we do? If we see an enemy, what are we going to do? We've got to, they shoot at us. We got to shoot them back. I mean, we don't expect it, but you just never know. So you got to be prepared. We were told to be prepared to see kids, see people on the sides of the roads, and we did. We saw lots of kids. We were told not to give them food and water because it creates a dependency, and you don't want them to get used to seeing military convoys and then expecting food and candy and water. And so, but I'll tell you, we did anyway. It's a human nature. It's just, you see somebody in need, and it's just natural to want to help them. And so, we would throw, water at them not at them, but, to them, or, throw pieces of the MREs that we didn't want, out to them and stuff like that. So we still did it, but we saw the kids, and, the looks on their faces were excited and happy to see us. So that was a great feeling, because you don't know, like, what do we expect from the populace? Are we going to be looked upon as heroes to rescue them from Saddam's rule? And I'll get into some of that later. And there's a whole lot to the political and religious makeup of not just that country, but that part of the world, that makes so much of this a lot more challenging than we ever imagined. I'll tell you, ever imagined. Okay. We were not ready for some of the things that came our way. So, yeah. So, I'm thinking that when we go in there, we are going to be looked upon as, victors and heroes. You almost think of the going through Paris in World War II. Saddam was a bad person, right? I mean, his government, killed people, killed thousands of people, and was, kept a lot of stuff from his people. And so, it seemed like a good thing to rescue them from him. So that's kind of my mindset. I'm not exactly sure how everyone else thought about it. I think maybe they were hoping that that's what it was going to be like. So, and at first in some areas, maybe it did come across that way. Some of my interactions with the people throughout my first year around Tikrit, in the airfield, when we had an opportunity to go out and visit at the local villages and stuff, seemed to be, they were grateful for what we were able to do for them. But you just don't know, because that they're like that to your face. But then, once we're gone, their loyalties and allegiances, revert back to whoever. So it's tough. I mean, very challenging. So we're hoping that that's how we're going to be, seen and looked at. But I just, you just don't know. So, but giving the kids the food and, some of the stuff made us feel good, and, it made us feel like we were doing the right thing and helping the populace, winning hearts and minds, right? So, we see that as we're heading in, and we did that, and long drive the first day. And so that night we are actually stopping on the side of a road south of Baghdad, on the side of a road, but we're still on the asphalt. And we stopped about a quarter mile south of an overpass. And it's for security, so we don't want to, there could be, bombs and stuff up there. Now, IEDs and stuff like that wasn't a thing yet, so we weren't really concerned about that. We didn't even know about it at that point. But just natural security reasons, we, stayed about a quarter mile back. And we literally slept right there on the side of the road. Now, that night, so we couldn't get off the pavement. So yes, there was pavement over there. This is MSR1, main supply route 1. So the main road going through Iraq from north to south. And it was asphalt. And so you couldn't get off the asphalt because the sides of the road and in between, the median, had not been demined yet. So not to say that there were mines right where we stopped, but we just didn't know. And we didn't have any equipment to tell or to check. So you just have to stay on the asphalt. So, brings up one of the things like, well, where do you go to the bathroom? And, how do you do that stuff? Well, so for the most part, when you stop on the side of the, you just go, number one, you go on the side of the road, or on your truck tire or whatever. Now, if you're driving, if you happen to have an empty water bottle, you can go in the water bottle. Like if you just have to, you cannot wait. But so one of the tough things is, so the water bottles were 1.5 liter size water bottles, which are huge. That's a lot of water. So you don't just have a bunch of them laying around, especially at first. I mean, this is our first day in country. And you don't have a whole bunch of them laying around to just be able to use. So one time I had to go, and I could not wait anymore. And I mean, there was nothing I could do. So I had one foot inside the tailgate of the Humvee and another foot outside on the tongue, but that's holding the trailer. The trailer connects to the back of the truck, and I'm going right there. Well, let me tell you, that does not work really well. The wind blowing through there, it does not just go right down to the ground. It blows everywhere. But it's like it started, and I had to go, and that's just what's going to happen. And when you're in those situations, that's what you do. Whatever you have to do, you just do, and you'll figure it out later. So that was one of the things that was crazy about that day. So that night, I actually got, one of the scaredest moments of my life, probably the scariest moment up to that point, which we were early in the war, so there's lots more to come after that. But it's kind of a funny story, but I was scared because I had no idea what was going to happen. So that night we sleep wherever we can sleep, whether it's in the back of the Humvee, on the ground, some people slept on the hoods, wherever you could sleep, you slept. Now, we were getting up at 6 and continuing on our way. We were going to be getting fuel and so on and so forth. So, me and Seth, one of my teammates, and we had guard duty from 03 to 6 in the morning. So you have to have people awake, obviously, patrolling your walking up and down while everybody's sleeping to protect them, so nobody can sneak up on us in the middle of the night. So. But before that, before we decided to lay down for a few hours and get a little bit of sleep, I had to go number 2. All right? I had to go number 2. Well, where am I supposed to do that? And, you've probably heard, like, you have your E-tool, your entrenching tool, which is like a little shovel they give you in the Army. It folds up, right? And you go dig a hole and do your thing, right? Well, yeah, but we can't get off the hardball. We can't get off the asphalt. We can't touch the dirt. So what am I supposed to do? I'm like, Seth, man, I gotta go. So we're like, okay. So we go a little bit past the trucks, and I literally drop my trousers and put my feet up against the edge of the concrete and my bum over the dirt, assuming, nothing's going to happen there, and take care of my business. Well, right as soon as that's happening, there's some noise on the other side of the road behind me that's like rustling in the bushes and sounds like something big. And I'm like, what is this? Are you joking me right now? Like, is somebody really coming at us? Like, what am I supposed to do? My pants are around my ankles. I can't just pinch a loaf, so to speak. Like, that is not going to work right now. My weapon's at my feet. So Seth's like, don't worry about it. I got you. And he's like pulling security, pointing his weapon over there. And I'm like, this is it. I'm about to die. My first day in Iraq, and my wife's going to find out that I died with my pants around my ankles, taking a big old number 2 in Iraq. Like, holy, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? And it's like just one of the crazy, most surreal, like, probably a few seconds, really. It wasn't that long, but of course for me, it felt like forever, like the most helpless few moments, like, oh my, I can't even defend myself. Like, what am I supposed to do? And so, long story short, out comes from the bush comes this dog, mangy dog, and then he, checks us out and he leaves or whatever. So it's like, whew, oh my Lord, I get to live another day, and my family doesn't get to hear that I died with my pants around my ankles. So welcome to Iraq. And my heart probably stopped several times. My adrenaline's going, and, forget getting a couple hours sleep now. I'm like, shoot, man. So that happened. that was one of the crazy things that happened. But, so early on, we've got a lot of other things going on too. So take care of business, finish there, try to lay down a little bit, and then it's time for our guard duty shift. So we get up, we're doing our thing, and probably nothing crazy happened, but about 5:50 in the morning, a truck started coming on the overpass and up in front of us. And I said, it's about a quarter mile up the road. And it was going around the exit ramp from that road. And so, we were junior soldiers, so we had a sergeant with us, and we were like, well, what do we do? Like, what if it comes down this way? Oh my God. Like, you can't, like, obviously we couldn't let them in our, area. So, we locked and loaded and were watching them and ready. And then there was, the machine gunner was on the truck right behind us, and he was ready. And, here it comes. We're watching the headlights. And then thankfully he turns and goes north. So we saw the taillights. We're like, whew. Like, thank goodness. Like, man, talk about a whole lot of excitement in one day. Like, man, I'm just a helicopter mechanic here. Like, what am I doing? So, a couple exciting things that happened that night and in the morning. And so we get everybody woken up, packed up, eat a little bit, and then get in our vehicles and head on north. And we get some fuel, and we actually make it to Saddam International Airport that day, which is downtown Baghdad. And it's just like any major airport. It's just like any major civilian airport that you've seen, that you've been to, and it's just in the middle of Baghdad, Iraq. But it's eerily quiet, and you can hear some fighting and stuff going off in the distance. And so we hear that we're going to pull in, and we're going to set up here and operate for a few days. So some of our aircraft had come in and landed, and they were going to run missions for a few days. So, okay. So what does that mean for us? How long are we going to be there? What are we doing? We're obviously maintainers, so if they needed any maintenance assistance, we didn't have a lot of equipment. We had our toolboxes and stuff, but didn't have a whole lot of equipment. But, okay. So we get there. Now, remember, there's no power, there's no water, there's no nothing. So we pull around to the side where basically right inside the doors, there's the baggage claim area. And it's got the turnstiles, just like any other airport, where the bags come up and you get your bag and going about your business. So we kind of set up operations there, and, we had our cots there. I think we were there for about 3 or 4 days. And so we had our cots and stuff there. And so, we got, got some rest or whatever when we're kind of hanging out. And so, of course, we do a little bit of exploring. We were told you cannot go up on the second floor. The Special Forces soldiers were up there. That's where they were running operations out of. So we couldn't get up there. And they had already ransacked the duty-free shop. So apparently, them and Third ID had already ransacked that, and there was nothing left. So even though we were not allowed to drink alcohol, so we were there, down there doing our thing. And, one of the things that, soldiers in general, but definitely I have found with the aviation guys, so they're resourceful and creative. And so, yes, we're in this airport, and yes, there are bathrooms, but there's no water. So you can't use them. And so what we did for our little section was we found an end table that was, it's like, they had furniture. There was, couches and end tables and coffee tables there. So there was an end table that was probably, I don't even know, 18 inches tall. And it had glass on it. So we took the glass off of it, and then we took, we had tools, of course, in our toolboxes. So we took the toilet seat off the toilet and see if it would fit. So the top of that table was square, and we took the piece of glass off. The toilet seat fit perfectly. So it fit on it. We took duct tape and duct taped it to it. And so you could sit on porcelain. You could sit on toilet seat. And we found a trash can because we had a whole bunch of trash bags. That's just something we deployed with and we carried with us everywhere. So we had those. We put them in the trash can, and put it underneath it, and it fit perfectly. And you could just sit, and now you have your own toilet. And so we were like, yes, like this is awesome. So then you take the bag, and tie it up, and you dispose of it. Well, maybe you want some little bit of privacy, and so where are we going to go to do that? So, of course, we're exploring around a little bit. So we go out the front doors of the airport, and it's just like any other airport again. Where you would drop people off, and the path. Except for now, there's no cars there. There's 2 Bradley tanks that are guarding the entrance. So there's no vehicles can drive up in there. And then there's a parking garage right in front of you. Now, there's no cars there except one. One car is left in this parking garage, and it's a Chevy Cavalier. I can't make this up. In Iraq, Baghdad, Iraq, Saddam International Airport, there's a Chevy Cavalier parked right there. Now, it doesn't work. It's trashed, whatever. But we would take a battle buddy out there, sit behind it for a little bit of privacy, and you've got, your battle buddy pulling security for you, and you take care of your business. And we would take the bag and throw it in the trunk of the Chevy Cavalier, among other places we would dispose of it. So, so we made our own toilet. So, and that thing, let me tell you, we used that for at least a couple of weeks, because we used that when we got up to where we were going into create a Camp Spiker 2 until we got our other facilities built. And I mean built, because we have to make all that stuff. And if you've ever heard the rumors or seen on TV of us burning poop, yes, that is exactly what happens. We have to get the barrels cut, and then you fill it with JP8, and I'll talk about, which is jet fuel. I will definitely talk about that in the future in another episode. But so that is normally how we get rid of it. But we're here so temporarily, like, what kind of effort do we go through to make these facilities? So we're not really sure. But so we made our own toilet, and everybody wanted to keep using ours. Like, hey man, where's the toilet seat at? So, we started handing that out, and then we started bargaining for it. Like, no man, like you got some Kool-Aid, whatever, something we wanted, and, but then, we would let people use it. So, so the next thing, while we're there, because we were going to be there for a few days, and they actually weren't sure. So, again, perspective, the battle, really, the front lines are definitely north of Baghdad, and, they're falling really fast. I mean, the Iraqi army was just not prepared at all, and so they are up in front of us, not real far, but, it's moving pretty quick, so we may be able to move here soon, but, not sure. So anyway, we need to make a place, because in our little detachment group, like there's probably 100 people or so, I'm guessing. So we needed to make a little bit more of a permanent place to go, and then get the barrels set up so we can take care of this. So I got selected to be on the detail to go find stuff to build this out of. So I got to go up on the second floor. So I don't remember who it was that went with me, but I got to go up on the second floor, and basically the tasking was go find something that we can make, a shitter out of. So I'm like, okay, well, in our group, in our convoy, we have a welder, we have a machinist, and they have their tools and their equipment with us. So I'm thinking, okay, like if we have to like cut stuff and metal, like we can figure that out. So let's go up there and see what we can figure out. So I'll get to that part in a second. But while we're up there, we spent like 3 hours walking through all these offices up there. And it was actually pretty cool, because we stuffed our pockets full of little souvenirs, like Iraqi Airway. That's the name of their airline, Iraqi Airways. Like, we found a whole bunch of like tourist bags that you would get from, the duty-free shop or the gift shop. So we grabbed a bunch of those, like tickets from people flying, like old tickets from when they flew from one place to another, time cards when people clocked in. I don't know. It was just stuff that we found, because the whole place was trash. Like, you could see, where people had come through the windows, and there was bullet holes in the walls, and, it was just, and desks were flipped, and the whole place was trash. So I mean, we could really just look through and see stuff. And so we grabbed as much of that stuff as we could and put it in our pockets. And anything we thought that might be kind of cool as souvenirs, right? So we did that. So that was kind of interesting. And I brought a lot of that home. And once I locate some of it, I will, take some pictures and get some of those uploaded as well to the Instagram page and Facebook. So, so doing that, well, anyway, so we decided, okay, there's this cabinet that's probably, I don't know, 6 feet tall. And we thought, okay, and it's, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet wide. So we thought, okay, what if we flip that over? We get the machinist like cut a hole, basically in the back side of the cabinet, and then they can get, the barrels underneath it. And then people can sit on that. Obviously, we need to get some wood or even the toilet seats from other bathrooms and put it on there. So we weren't tasked with building it. We just had to go get the materials. And then, so we found this and we carried it on down the escalators and stairs and got it outside and then talked to the machinist guy. I was like, here you go. This is our idea. And then they put their heads together and figured it out. And, and that's what they did. So they made 2 where you could sit on them and then there was barrels underneath. Now, the other interesting thing is you are less than a foot from the person next to you with nothing in between. So you're potentially rubbing elbows with somebody while they're taking care of their business. Now, look, there's many times in the Army prior to this where, I've been in situations where you just don't have privacy and you have to get used to it. And so this is definitely another one of those moments and getting ready to be a whole year of no privacy. I mean, we're going to live in a tent with 9 other people for an entire year. So this was one of those moments, and some people were like, no, man, I can't go in there. Like, well, hey, I mean, I'm not forcing you to go anywhere else, but, so anyway, we enjoyed using our own toilet we made, but most people had to use that. And then there were other similar things that we built when we first, got up north too, when we got to Spiker, and, had to make arrangements for the masses to use. So, I was on that detail to do that and did that. So the other thing, my first shower. Let's talk about my first shower in Iraq. And so I laugh and kind of excited because it's definitely not what you think as a shower, not what I imagined as a shower, but I'm hot, I'm dirty, just to get some kind of cleanliness would be great. So me and Seth found a cubicle, and like the walls for a cubicle, so it's 3-sided, because there's offices and stuff all around. So we said, okay, well, let's take this. We took it outside to the flight line, and naturally in airports there's drains and stuff so that, when it rains, it doesn't sit all over the top of the concrete. So we put the cubicle over there on top of the grates, and then we had a poncho as the foresight. And so got in there with my flip-flops, and we had 1 bottle of water, because water was rationed pretty good. So 1 big 1.5-liter bottle of water, and pour that on me, and and then I had a bar of soap. I don't think I even had a poof or whatever you want to call it back then. I mean, it was washcloths and soap. So but one funny part is, so anyway, I mean, that was like, it felt great, but and then like washing a little bit, and then so as I have the soap in my hand, the bar of soap, and I was rubbing up my arm. And how when you hit like a dry spot, like it's wet and then it goes dry and it like sticks. So it stuck, and then so my momentum went and the came off the bar of soap. My hand came off the bar of soap, and then the bar of soap went flying, and I'm like trying to catch it. And of course, this is all like looks like it's in slow motion that it's happening. And so you can just take a guess at where the bar of soap went. It went right down that drain. And I was like looking like, oh my gosh, like, come on, man. Like, I just want to get a little bit of cleanliness. Like, please, man. So now I'm like, what do I do? So I'm like, Seth, he's like, yeah. I was like, I lost my soap in the drain. Can I borrow yours? Like, I'm asking this other man if I can borrow his soap. And of course, he let me borrow his soap. I mean, I would have done the same, but it's like, gosh, I don't want to, put him out because you only have so much with you. So anyway, that was another interesting thing. Lost my soap, but that was my first shower in Iraq, and it was pretty interesting. So, and resourceful, creative. We just kind of did what we had to do, and but it was nice to get a little bit of water and soap on us. So, another interesting thing that happened while we were there. So some of the guys were working out on the aircraft. Some of the 58s were there, and they were the OH-58 Kiowa Warriors, the smaller armed reconnaissance helicopters. Were there doing missions and stuff, and they were out working on them. And there was, I'm going to call him a civilian. I don't know. Could have been an enemy combatant because people didn't wear uniforms on the other side. And so who knows? But anyway, this guy came on the airfield and he was coming towards us. And some of the guys were like, holy smokes. And then another real good friend of mine that I'll have lots to talk about later, Sergeant J for now. He ended up helping get this guy down to the ground and, was kind of like, what do we do now? Like, what am I supposed to do with this guy? Like, I mean, they're holding him down, and so anyway, they got a hold of some MPs that came and got this guy out of there. But yeah, it was kind of scary because we're like focused on our mission and, fixing helicopters and stuff. I wasn't out there with them, but they were, they told us about it when they came in because we heard about all the excitement that was going on. Like, oh my gosh. So, so that was, pretty crazy, but yeah, got my, we made our own toilet there, got my first shower there, and then, lost my soap, and then a little excitement with an enemy combatant there coming towards us. So, so after a few days, hey, it's time to pack up and let's move, right? So we pack up all of our stuff and we get ready. And so basically what we're told is, okay, we're going to head to another location and we're going to spend the night, one, maybe two, but it just depends on what's happening in front of us. And then hopefully we'll be at our destination, after that. So, okay, I'm just a junior soldier. I just, roger that, go where I'm supposed to be and do what I'm supposed to do. And so when we left Saddam International Airport on our way, this was like the first time it looked like a war zone. Like there was definitely heavy fighting. There was tanks blown up. Buildings were blown up. Artillery pieces were near and, destroyed. Definitely a lot of our equipment was there. Like we had Abrams and Bradley's tanks were nearby and they were off doing their thing. And it was eerily quiet again, minus those pieces of equipment moving. Like virtually no civilians were around. Like you couldn't see, I mean, there was nobody. I mean, obviously there had been definitely some fighting going on. And so we saw all that. And again, so that's when it really starts to, it's real. Like we're at war. Like not that we hadn't thought beforehand, but until you see these things, it's like, oh man, is this, really real? We're just fixing helicopters. Well, no, we're not just fixing helicopters. Like we're driving through this and we've got to be ready and prepared, to defend ourselves. And so that was a surreal part of the trip, is seeing all that, like, oh my gosh. And seeing the devastation that war takes on, those communities and neighborhoods and then on the equipment and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was definitely eye-opening. And so we got through there and got to our next destination. And so we kind of set up. It was late. We set up and getting ready to bed down for the night. And again, it was just wherever you could find a spot to sleep. And then one of the guys comes over. It's like, hey man, did you hear about so and so? And I'm like, no, I don't. And I don't remember their name. So at this point, I'm like, no. It's like, man, he had to go number 2 so bad that he like dropped his gear And when he went, he ended up going on his gear. And I know that's gross and stuff, but like, this is the stuff that really happens. And they're like, so he's over there like cleaning it all and uses water to like get it cleaned up. And then some of it, he's like, nah, I'm not even wearing it anymore, you know, and it's gross and stuff. But like, that is real. Like, that's what happens sometimes. And it was, you know, of course we just felt bad. We were laughing, yes. But, you know, we felt bad, like, oh my gosh, that sucks so bad. You know, like, man, I can't believe that happened to him. Like, gosh, I hope that never happens to me. So that was the last exciting thing. And then we finally, you know, got to bed down and got up early the next morning, and we got the word, hey, pack up, let's go. So really a lot of the fighting up north happened really quickly. And it was basically the airfield was secured for us to roll in and start setting up shop. So, you know, so we roll in to Camp Spiker, and it's not Camp Spiker yet, but it's just an airfield to us. I mean, this is an abandoned Iraqi airfield, and abandoned meaning it's not active. There was destroyed aircraft from the 91 Gulf War that we saw in several places. They hadn't used these bunkers in quite a while, because one of the things we know that they did prior to this war, just like they did previous, is they would move a lot of their aircraft and they would bury them in the desert, like so that we couldn't bomb them, and hopefully they would be there, you know, after we left, right? So when we got in there, we pulled in, and then one of the first things we saw in the hangar area that we were going to take over, I mean, there was inches full of bird crap, like pigeons and stuff, and so you could tell nobody had been there for a long time. So yeah, here we are. That really ends my first week in Iraq, and, you know, with the convoys and, you know, the bathroom issues, ended up at Saddam International Airport and making our own toilet, hanging out in the baggage area, you know, driving through the war zone. And, you know, one of the things, so when we finally get there, it's like, this is my home for the next year, but I don't know at that point that that's going to be my home for the next year. So again, I don't know how long I'm going to be gone. You know, previous to this, most Army deployments were 6 months long, so we were still kind of hoping for 6 months, but we would find out that is not going to be the case. So yeah, first week in Iraq, in country, pretty, you know, crazy. Some things going on, and you know, with the convoy and getting up there and getting settled. So, but yeah, so that ends my first week. We are at Camp Spiker, and, you know, next week we're going to start getting into some other things. So next week's episode, we're going to talk about 3 pools in Iraq. Yes, 3 pools in Iraq, and it's kind of another exciting story. I'm definitely excited to tell y'all about the 3 pools in Iraq, and then we'll get into some more of this stuff. You know, some of the people that I've served with, some of the people that are on my teams, and, you know, what they've contributed and how we kind of interacted with each other. But yeah, so next week, 3 pools in Iraq. So tune in for that and listen to find out about that. And, you know, hey, again, check out the website, millersmilitarymoments.com. And sign up for the weekly newsletter and learn about how we're going to do the Zoom call for question and answer session in the future, and other exciting things to come from this show, Miller's Military Moments. So thanks again for tuning in to this episode of Miller's Military Moments, where you get the inside scoop on my adventures of being a soldier in the U.S. Army. Until next time, peace.